The biggest issue I had when I first got my 150 CNC machine was where and what do I even start with if I want to make some extra cash with it? And for good reason too. All you need to do is just go on a site like Pinterest or Etsy and you'll find thousands of listings for anything really that you thought was pretty unique. It's quite overwhelming and discouraging as well sometimes. However, there is light at the end of the tunnel, and I promise you it's not a train. In fact, there are only 5 things you need to know to get your CNC side hustle off to a good start. And I'm going to give you the one thing I reckon is the easiest thing to get started with. And then I'm also going to give you 4 places you can go to find your first customer for it. Hi and welcome, my name is Josh, and today we've got quite a bit to cover, so let's jump straight to number 1. The easiest thing, in my opinion, to get started with is directional signage. Now, I know that sounds just as obvious as a chopping board, but it does work for a couple of good reasons. Number 1, it's more specific. When somebody's looking for a sign, they want something that is personal, that represents something about them or their business. Not something that's generic that they can just go and buy off the shelf of a hardware store or something. Businesses especially like to stand out and be different. Number 2, it's easy to make. You don't have to make multiple parts that need to be put together or anything, and you can batch them out pretty quickly as well. And I'll show you a few tips and tricks on how to do that very efficiently. Number 3, quite often there will be very little to no competition at all, if you know who your customers are, and we'll get to that in just a minute. Number 4, become the go-to person. If you're going to be doing a good job at something simple like this, then people are going to start talking and noticing, and you're going to be the one to go to for personalized signage. My personal experience has been that people will often support somebody who is local, someone they can meet face to face and have a relationship with, rather than just a website with some pictures on it. Number 5, free advertising. Word of mouth is probably going to be the best way for you to get more business through the door. And I can guarantee you, you will get people ringing up at some point asking if you can do something different. And quite often it'll be something that you haven't even thought about, which opens up doors to more possibilities and more things that you can actually start to do. And also you get to put your name and your contact details, your business name or whatever you like on the back of everything that you make, especially signs, which is another great way to get noticed. So do a good job with the little things and the big things will follow. Number 2, how and where to go find your first customer. Now there are 4 places that I can recommend you go to, and I think most people would have access to at least 1 or 2 of these. Number 1, golf courses. All golf courses have signage of some sort directing people where to go, where to park, where the office is, where the toilets are, where to tee off. Number 2, caravan parks or campsites. Similar to golf courses, campsites also use a lot of directional signage. Number 3, schools. I worked as a business manager in a private school for almost 10 years. And in that time, the school kept expanding and there was always this need for more signage. And the fun thing about making signs for schools is you can make lots of colorful things and different shapes and sizes. Number 4, just drive around town and see what's there. In my town, for example, we got hiking trails, bike trails, we got lots of historical sites that people go and visit all the time. There's even a botanical garden with little signs for each tree and plant that they put up everywhere. So what I would recommend is go around and have a look and see what it is that they've got. Then make some notes and go home and make something that is better. And then you take that with you when you go and see them as an example of what it is that you can offer. And if you really have to, just tell them you'll make 2 or 3 signs for free. Number 3, advertising and spreading the word. The easiest way to go about this is just to make some random free gifts for friends and family. And then you take some pictures of that and put it on a Facebook or Instagram page. And you can also ask your friends and family to share that with other people. So doing things for free has 2 main advantages. Number 1, you learn new skills and you get insight into making different kinds of things, which is great. But for me, more importantly, it kind of gives me an insight into what I want to spend my time making and what I do not want to spend my time making. Which brings me to point number 4, how I charge and how much I charge. Almost 2 years ago now, we bought this CO2 laser thinking we're going to be making a killing as well after watching lots of online videos and things people were posting. And on paper, it did kind of make sense. However, we quickly realized that there's a lot of hype around stuff like that because it's low ticket items, it takes a lot of time to make, and there are a lot of people doing exactly the same thing. A better starting point, in my opinion, would be to decide upfront how much your time and effort is worth to you, and then go and find something that is worthy of your time and effort. This is something I would highly recommend you start doing if you are not already doing so, and that is to start a project like this with some very basic drawings. Give your customer a visual of the basic shape, the size, the font, or any artwork that goes onto these signs. Having the customer involved this way almost completely eliminates any miscommunication about what the sign needs to look like and what the wording is. And then once everybody's happy with the designs, I will make a copy of that and email it to the customer so that I've got a paper trail of them confirming that they are happy with the designs. So as an example, to do these 32 signs start to finish took me just over 35 hours. So I charged 1,250 Australian dollars, and the customer paid for the materials on top of that, which was about $340. So in this instance, charging a dollar amount per hour for me works a lot better than trying to work out the sizes of each of these, and then I don't know, it just doesn't work. Generally speaking, if the job is going to be more than $1,000, I always ask for a 50% deposit. Asking a deposit kind of gets the customer committed as well. There's nothing worse than getting halfway through a job and then they just pull out or change their minds. Number 5, how to keep track of your time and your materials, and why this is important and how it's going to save you a lot of time and money in the long run. So, one of the best things that I have ever done for myself was to create a simple timesheet where I can track how much time I spend on each job or project, especially if it's something I haven't done before, which in turn helps me quote better for the next time I get to do a similar kind of job. Or it just helps me eliminate things that I just don't want to do that are not worth my time and effort. The next template I use is my cut list, which also calculates exactly how much material or stock I need. And again, I'll leave you a link in the description to that one too. So this is basically what my cut list template looks like. On the left hand side, we've got a column with numbers in them, and that corresponds to the drawings that I showed you earlier. Next to that, you got a length for each board times the quantity, and that gives you a total here. And then that basically just totals up at the bottom, and I've actually put in feet here as well. And if you want to see how the formula works for that, you simply click into the cell and then come up all the way to the top here, and it's right there. Same with these ones. They are basically just multiplying this column with that column to give you a total on this side. So feel free to change that any way you like, and if you do have trouble with this and you need some help, just let me know and I'll see what I can do for you. And obviously I will always buy a little bit more than this, just in case something goes wrong or the customer comes back and says, can you do another 1 or 2 of these? A couple of more tips on productivity. Number 1, be proactive. Don't just stand around looking at your CNC machine doing all the hard work while you could be doing something productive like masking up your next board or just lining them up so that you know which one is next. Number 2, jigs. If you are using a jig of some sort to hold things in place, make sure that you are doing similar sized boards at the same time before changing the size or the layout of the jig. And this is where something like your drawings can come in very handy, because now you can get to see which ones you need to make that are exactly the same size. Number 3, try and keep your workspace tidy. I tell you, there's very few things as frustrating as using a measuring tape, putting it down next to you, and 2 seconds later when you reach for it, it's gone. I sometimes feel like I'm losing my mind when I'm really busy and everything is a big mess. So just stopping every now and then just to tidy up and putting things back in place really makes such a big difference, and it'll save you a lot of time and frustration as well. And if you want to see the full video of how I made these signs, you can watch the next video, And as always, I'll catch you on the next one.